quite a while, really. It's a very important discussion which I felt because a lot of time now sitting at home, we don't have that much of exercise, and this is generally our sedentary lifestyle that we're living. So I think a lot of focus goes to your food in general, but not a lot of people think about their indulgences like pastry, bakery, or alcohol for that matter, or cigarettes. They don't think in those terms. So I think that's one area which I wanted to definitely develop was to understand how to do pastry and bakery. So today in our discussion we have Chef Sunit, who is very kind enough to join us today. We've taken our precautions, COVID-19 precautions, so don't worry, so don't get all frightened. We've done our due diligence in that area. So lovely to have Chef Sunit on board today.
Thank you.
It's something which I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry I've been bugging you about it. Eat Right India. So it's something that I felt was a great movement which I feel that we needed to discuss. That's why, and that's the reason we started off in that discussion. But please, just if you could introduce yourself for the viewers, it would be really amazing.
Sure. Thank you, Kunal. Thank you for having me here. My name is Sunit Sharma. I'm a chef by profession and by passion as well. Now working as a consultant, where we do under the banner of Modern Hospitality Consultants, which is our company, where we do projects to upgradation of hotels and restaurants. We are based out of Goa, but we do projects all across the country. And after more than 20 years of active operations is the experience that we have gathered in the rooms division, which is led by my wife Vaishali, and I do the food and beverage. We've jumped into consulting where we saw that there is immense potential. A lot of people become consultants who don't understand our business of hospitality, but they are consultants. We said, why don't we do it where we are from the industry, where we have been doing this for several owners, several brands, but then why should it be only the knowledge and the experience gathered over so many over 2 decades? Why it should be restricted to only a single brand or a single company? Why not do it? Why not do it for the entire industry, for everybody who needs kind of professional help? So we decided and we got into consulting. So that is Modern Hospitality Consultants. Over 2 decades in the industry, got a few awards, contributed to a couple of Guinness Awards in Goa, along with Chef Kunal as well, and the team of chefs that we have in Goa, and several more. I will not bore you with that.
So good to be here. So a little bit I want to ask you, Chef, if you could also introduce Eat Right India as a movement, and also if you could speak a little bit about Goa Culinary Forum.
Right. As I said, this is more about the give back time or the phase that we have to give back to our industry and to our fraternity. So, the Culinary Forum of Goa is an association of professional chefs who are represented or who represent various hotels, restaurants, culinary institutes, and training academies. And this is meant for professionals only. We are a registered body since 2007. And we have members of about 150 plus registered members now in Goa and across Goans or Goan chefs who have then migrated across the world. We are also a part of the Indian Federation of Culinary Associations, which is IFCA, which is our national body, and under the World Association of Chef Societies, which is the world body. So it's a registered organization, and it's a not-for-profit organization where we are working towards developing cuisines, making cuisine more safe, like Eat Right India, and upliftment of the fraternity. Wherever we can give back in the food forum, making it more professional, making it more collaborative as well. So Eat Right India is a great initiative that is by the Government of India with the food safety. The FSSAI has put this whole movement forward. So what they say is, FDA or FSSAI, as we all know, used to be about safe food.
Correct.
So the next step has happened now. In the last couple of years, they realized that it's not only about being safe, it's not only about being hygienic, it's not enough. So the next step is about contributing back to food and health. So if it is not healthy and safe, it is not food.
Correct.
So the new logo or the new slogan, I would say, the new phrase that if it is not healthy and safe, it is not food. It is not meant for human consumption. So it has to be healthy. So the Eat Right movement is focusing on various parameters of food, they have taken various steps to make sure that the food which is cooked not only in institutions and organizations but also even at home,
Okay.
even among even in the temples. So they have participated wherever food is being cooked.
They broadened
The whole outlook. So it's not only necessarily commercial all the time. It used to be only commercial food cooking. Now they are trying to inculcate and get people who are doing the Anganwadi, which is non-commercial.
Okay.
Temples, which is cooking food, again non-commercial. So wherever people are being fed, even at home, food is being served at home. So they are inculcating the sense of awareness of healthy food again. How to make it better, how to make it safer, how to make it healthy in the households as well.
I'm very happy with all the initiatives that FSSI is taking because I'm seeing the change, right? I'm seeing the change 2000 and from 2014 onwards. I'm seeing the campaigns start coming about. So the campaigns that are coming about now are also to generate this common understanding of food. So basically, a lot of times when we like in India we have this problem that the moment we look at food, we say the person who's cooked it is responsible. But what we generally miss out is that the person who's consuming it also is equally responsible.
Absolutely.
Like the person who's eating it should also have, if there's a problem, state it. Don't just make a product because if I'm a chef and I'm just making a product to save cost or to save some kind of to make it quicker or save time or something like that, and the customer doesn't say anything, I will never know whether my product is bad or good. That is what the biggest issue is. So I feel that if at some point in time, if we kind of look up on this particular gamut of things and we say, okay, no, like this has to broaden the horizon. I think FSSI started to do that now. So they're talking about many other things, only not commercial production.
It's
which is very cool.
And it is a two-way street.
Correct.
It was
Correct.
earlier only, I would say, like a regulatory body.
Correct.
It was only meant like a policeman with a stick.
Correct.
It is not anymore because
Correct.
as a chef association, part of the chef association Goa and the national network, there is a network created which is called NetProFan.
Correct.
So another initiative where they have involved. So the regulatory body has started working with the chef association,
Okay.
the nutritionist association, the dietetics association, doctors, and many more such food-related people. So it's not only
anyone who's related to food, from
Yes.
farm to folk, everyone is included.
they have been. So the associations have been put together into a single network so that people can talk about the various issues of food. It need not be just regulation of food and cooking commercial food. So there's a very wholesome approach, which has been taken up.
I'm quite wowed. A lot of people, like I have come across, they say that this is only possible in say Australia or or America or the UK, but it's happening now in India. So I think for me it's like a big quantum leap.
And
It's good.
You being part of the NetProFan committee here in Goa as well, so it's happening. It's
Correct.
not that it's only on paper.
And in Goa, I think most of because of our education level, we imbibe very easily and we adhere to laws very automatically. I feel like if there's a law, Goan restaurateurs and Goan business owners, I would not say sometimes there is a mistake. I wouldn't blanket it very saying that everyone follows the order, but almost the majority of them will always tend to follow the order. At some point in time, if there is a small mistake, it can be overlooked, but by and large, they will try to follow that particular order. Whatever
I think I would not only say about Goa now, but I would say I have travelled quite extensively in India as well, and just a few years back I came and settled in Goa. So the whole shift of participation has become from the community as well. So it's not that people will do something only because there is a regulation. Now people feel more responsible for what they do.
Perfect.
So automatically, the sense of involvement, the sense of participation is there, and things are better off.
That's very interesting, Shiv, actually, because apart from NetProFan, apart from Goa Culinary Forum, we are also part of a small group of chefs, which is basically known as Young Chefs Association of India. So Young Chef Association of India is again one of the, it's a body that is a pan-India body, which is basically meant for chefs from the ages of 18 to 27. So these are young, impressionable minds, minds that we can mold for a better attitude towards this particular industry. if you fall into that bracket, or if you want to follow it, or either if you want to be part of Netrofan, or if you want to be part of Goa Culinary Forum or YCAI, please get in touch with us post the session, and we'll let you know how to do that. But just moving on, Chef.
Just to reiterate, the young chef is meant for students as well.
Student
So
chefs as well.
students and young chefs under the age of 25, 27 years.
Correct. So it's students as well as young chefs who are working, and even if you are working in any kind of, whether hotels or restaurants or wherever, or even cruise lines for that matter, if you're self-employed also, you can be part of YCAI. Chef, just to move on, just get to the topic at hand. Now, basically, pastry and bakery. Automatically, when you say pastry and bakery, half the people who are on diet say, no, I don't want to eat this pastry and bakery, because it's an indulgence. It's something that I can do without. My life doesn't depend on pastry and bakery. But I unfortunately spent a lot of time in France, where in France, very rarely would a person not eat pastry, or would not eat dessert, for that matter. Very rarely did it happen that people did. And I did not see a lot of overweight people there.
Correct.
So I think everything in my mind, and all that I'm going to go through, in my mind, I think everything boils down to only one word in my mind, that is choice.
True.
You can choose, and that is entirely up to you. So I think the reason I want to have this discussion is to make people qualified in this 1 hour span of time. Just qualify them to make a calculated decision. Whether I want to do this, I want to purchase this or not.
No, also, just to add up one more word to it, one is choice and the second is moderation. So if you keep both the words, in tandem, automatically you made a better choice.
Good
So
partnership.
it's in partnership that way.
So going to, moving on, what I wanted to kind of talk about initially was pinch points. Now these are the areas in pastry and bakery where every chef will say, I don't have any option here. I have to, like my hands are tied. Like I don't have any option, so I'm going to do this only.
No.
That I have faced it on a million times when I'm, either through student chefs or through one of our trainings. We've always faced this issue where the chef will always say, "No, I can't do these things because I don't have staff, or I don't have training, or I don't have some issue." So what do you think are the problem points? Like what do you think is the main problem point in pastry and baking? I mean, food is obviously a much bigger area, but pastry and baking.
Even in, see, it's a mindset. First of all, as you said, it's about choice. If a person has made it he's chosen to say that there is a problem and not find a solution for it. He's made a choice which is kind of restrictive in nature. So he's looking at the problem more, focusing on the problem only.
Not on the solution.
Not on the solution. Rather, okay, you've seen a problem, you find a problem, and then the next step is how do I overcome it and how do I move forward, rather than just beating the drum and saying, okay, I have a problem.
Correct.
So the choice is again in the person.
Correct.
There would always be problems. There will always be pinch points of ingredients,
Correct.
about staff, about customer requests, about availability of things, about the work culture, about the work circumstances. In life, I mean, it's full of it.
So I feel
It's going to be there forever. So
I feel sometimes, when I was working as a pastry chef, what I found which was really crippling was the lack of training at that level. I mean, hotels have trained the trainer program and all that, but those are very general programs. I personally feel there is a general lack of upgraded training for upgraded skills in pastry and bakery. And a lot of chefs don't, I know we have part of so many organizations and stuff, but a lot of chefs, they are in their heart, they feel that they are restricted and they don't want to open up to more training. They feel मैं तो सब सीख लिया हूँ, अभी मैं chef बन गया हूँ. So I feel that was a major restriction point in my mind, because when I was a chef, I used to still make mistakes, and I still make mistakes even today.
which is natural, human nature.
Human nature. I mean, I don't find it restricting. I don't find it like, some chefs say that this guy can't make this product properly, he's a bad chef. I don't see a person as a bad chef or a good chef by one particular dish. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it's not a bhel puri wala. So if bhel puri wala ki bhel puri kharab hai, then I can understand it's very generically saying that he's a very bad bhel puri wala. But a chef generally has so many duties. I mean, in pastry, for example, now one of the pinch points when I was a pastry chef was people used to always asked me, like the entire onus of doing anything good was on the chef. Neither the staff is interested, neither the client is interested. So this chef decides that मुझे नहीं करना है, I don't want to do it, finish. Everything is paid. So everything is on the chef. Means you bring too much pressure on the chef. And I feel one of the biggest problems that I face as a pastry chef was the problem of variety. So this is a marketing issue which I think which has corrupted the entire youth in by and large. Like I feel that, for example, today, like when we were children, if someone my father would say, "Here's your cake." Like there was no like kaun sa cake chahiye aapko and all that. He said, "Here is your cake, cut." That was the concept. कि अभी इसमें कैंडल लगा है, फूंक मार और इसको काट. That was the concept because we didn't have any options and we
Maybe
didn't
not
care. We
very
were very happy.
That one cake itself was enough for the whole year.
Super.
You are waiting, looking forward to the next year now.
Like we used to, in fact, our biggest thing was कि wow, ये cake आ गया. Like that was a thrill for us. Today there's so much of variety in the industry and in life in general. People are not even interested. The people are talking about things like, I want a cake which has this cartoon character. This cartoon character should be looking this way because Vastu ke hisab se it should look in northeast direction. And then there is the cake, a knife should be certain color because it's my lucky color. And Fulana Dhimkana में so many variety का इतना blast हो गया है कि I feel that variety is literally ruining a lot of things for us.
It is also the exposure of on social media, that people can Google and find anything and everything.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Feasible, unfeasible is something that one should think about before you come to order or you want it.
Correct.
One thing, you need to again have a choice. Okay, I need these things or I choose to have these things.
Correct.
But what is feasible and not feasible?
Correct.
I think this whole COVID situation has really taught people to choose wisely.
Yes, correct. Feasible
And
not
feasibility or not feasible at this
True.
moment.
The other issue I always felt was, like our customers. I think this is by and large every chef's nightmare. Whenever we go to a restaurant and you see, like as a chef, for example, if I'm in a restaurant, if the dish is bad also, I'll say, "ठीक है, maybe a bad day," or I'll order something else. I'll give like best out of 3. Like I would give the chef the benefit of doubt, or a server the benefit of doubt. But the situation now is that a lot of these customers come with this value for money mentality.
Immediately, they want gratification.
I have paid for this and you should give it to me. I mean, or I have paid for this, I must enjoy it. And they feel like criminal act has been committed if they have not enjoyed the meal. So I feel this is very, very detrimental to our movement forward. What do you think?
Agreed, because it's become more materialistic today. I would say, when people want instant gratification that, okay, I am going to pay or I have paid for this, so I want it up to my level. They don't think that probably, and not necessarily the chef has had a bad day or this is, they are doing their best. I would give the benefit of doubt to the production team and the service team there that they are doing their best. But what you expect, probably you expect it too high.
Correct.
Probably, you've seen something on Google somewhere, some post something, and you expect the same. It may not be the real picture. Come see the reality, and maybe see reality once, twice, thrice, and then make a judgment that is this place worth or not worth.
Correct. And so the funny part is I've spoken to a lot of chefs, and a lot of chefs have the same problem. So a person comes from abroad and says, I've eaten this particular dish let's say example of khao soi, because khao soi was trending last season. So khao soi was this product that people would eat in Vietnam or basically in any Southeast Asian country, and they would come to India and say that this khao soi is not authentic. So half the vegetables that grow here may not be the same as the vegetables that grow there, and definitely
you may put the same ingredients. You may put the same ingredients, including the water. But is the water the same that you get there?
Correct.
So, from water quality to vegetable quality to the sauces, paste, every ingredient. I'm not even talking about the skill level. I'm not even talking about the cooking methodology, the amount of heat that is being generated, what kind of equipment was used. So, as much as possible that you can replicate things, can you really replicate the whole environment?
Correct.
And the environment affects the food.
Correct.
Totally. It's the water which affects the food.
Okay, very
in hot
true.
water. So how can you really get exactly the same thing what you had there unless it was vacuum packed there, sealed, frozen, whatever, brought
Brought
here and
here.
thawed, and then
Correct.
are you in the same frame of mind from here and there? If not, again the food will change. The
Correct.
food is
Here
subjective.
you want the pressure.
Here,
No,
you're in a different environment. You're sitting in a different restaurant and expecting the same thing. How is it going to happen? You're paying a different price point as well.
Very
Probably.
Right? We don't think, I never,
You have
thought about
flown
that.
thousands of kilometers, paid an airfare to go there and had that, and here you are having it at
Fraction
hardly
of-
any price,
fraction
and
of
you are
that.
comparing. It's not going to be happening the same. So there are multiple ways. Food
Very
is
interesting concept.
you should enjoy it in the moment.
Correct.
If you're in the right frame of mind, you'll enjoy the simplest of khichdi as well.
Correct.
Forget a very exotic food in an exotic location.
I think chefs in general enjoy all kinds of food because
They're more practical people.
whatever they don't have to make, they don't
True.
enjoy that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Whatever made for them, कुछ भी खा लेंगे.
They'll be happy with something cooks for them. If not, they will make the simplest of food for themselves
So
and enjoy it
My
more.
boss used to always tell me this thing. He says, I only cook when I'm paid to. That is
Other times you only feed yourself.
Yeah, he does, and he never complained. So he said that the trick, one of the gentlemen that I took a lot of inspiration from was was his family from Nasik, which is basically Sanya uncle and Mani uncle. So Mani uncle has this concept. I don't know if he's watching, but it's a very nice concept. He said, told me also, बेटा जब शादी हो जाएगी ना, उस दिन से बीवी को सिर्फ हाँ बोलना, and you will lead a very happy life. And he's saying that look at me, I'm so happy. क्यों? क्योंकि मैंने ना शब्द का कभी यूज ही नहीं किया. And I always realized that, and then I kind of put that into this pastry and this concept. So I think the moment you start saying yes to everything, the world starts saying yes to you. It's like very, very, very
Yeah,
positive.
True.
One of the other issues that plagues people making the choice towards a healthy shift. One of the again issues, complaint that a lot of chefs tell us that ये problem is they feel that there are already a lot of there's like a lot of high outgoing that's happening in our industry. Like our rentals are high, our fixed costs are high, our variables are high. And they're saying uske upar se you want us to add more expensive product and more expensive ingredient ke base pe product. So I think that is not fitting in their scheme of things. What do you think about that?
It's possible to find alternates. First thing.
Okay.
Every ingredient need not be expensive. Yes, bakery and pastry is generally an expensive area. Agreed. The cost of most of the ingredients are a little bit on a higher side, and that's an agreed thing. But then, why is it so high all the time? If it can be sourced locally,
Correct.
if it can be an Indian alternative, either a brand or an alternate ingredient, if we have to look at that, there are easier solutions, there are better solutions.
I agree with you, Chef, completely, because in pastry, in our bakery also. So in our bakery, we realized that what we did is we did not have one food cost percentage for everything.
It doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work.
It has to be averaged out.
We don't. So what we do is we don't even average out. So what we do is one step further. It's a very, very painful process. Like we have one set of products which are classified into bulk only. So in bulk only, you'll be amazed, my food cost is not even 33%. Because I'm sourcing locally. I don't buy anything from outside and I only buy in bulk. But if I go to restaurant outsourcing desserts, say for example desserts that you're sourcing out, giving to restaurants, we supply to restaurants here, our food cost goes as high as 43-44%. Because we are using premium chocolate, we are using premium quality of ingredients, and we are using sometimes sulfurless sugar, sometimes we are using jaggery powder, or we are using honey as the main sweetener. We are not using sugar at all in some recipes. So that I think fascinates me because I think chefs don't do that. I think what they do is they just go with like iska curry cost.
Standard recipes.
Standard recipes.
No, standard cost.
I think that is, see, right now we have the time. So I think right now when we have the time, we still have about, I think about another month or so until operations will really kick in. I think this is the time now to kind of understand where we're going wrong and to derive a realistic food cost percentage.
And not only food cost, but then it will also add to the overall health and environmental impact that we are
Correct.
generating,
Correct.
impact that we are making in overall with our food, the way our
Once
operations
it's
are being done.
affordable, for example, if I went to a pastry shop and I saw there's a atta cake, and the atta cake is 500 rupees kilo, and I saw a maida cake which is 500 rupees kilo, I would now easily opt for the atta cake because cost is not a problem for me. That would even out that barrier. So I think by realistically costing our products, I think chefs can easily create that opportunity. Is what I feel.
Agreed.
They
And
can.
this is the, I think, as hoteliers and chefs, we have been always complaining that we don't have time to
Correct.
do research, development, and training or relearning things.
Now then,
This is the time. God has given us a big window,
Yes.
months together at a time,
And it's
to do
one-
all this.
And the other issue that a lot of chefs, like so we spoke about this topic to a lot of chefs from the industry that I know and that I don't know sometimes, just kind of randomly cold call some chefs. They may not really be happy about it, but we got some feedback. So a lot of them tell me that it's very difficult to skill my current staff to make healthy alternative pastry or bakery. So for me as a trained pastry chef, I didn't find any merit in that one sentence. Because my staff knows how to make a tea cake. They know that they have to follow creaming method. सिर्फ उसमें से I have to remove sugar and replace it with jaggery powder and replace the maida with the atta and काम हो गया. The same technique. So I think a lot of times I'm not blaming chefs, but I think chefs go for the easy way out. I think
It's a mindset.
correct.
See, the typical or traditional mindset is that why change? Or is change necessary, important, or compulsory, or needed?
True.
The moment we make a choice that no, change is required, and change, who would have foreseen this? What is going on?
Correct.
If our life can change like this, it's not even 180 degrees, it's like a 360 and a 360 together. Such a change has happened. I think
Massive.
people have to realize that anything and everything is possible, and just move ahead.
Correct.
And a healthy alternative, if you give the staff or a student or a consumer an alternative which is probably more local, probably cheaper, probably healthier, if you give him the logic why you're doing something,
Correct.
I don't see the reason why somebody will not pick it up.
Correct.
Let it be a skill or let it be a buy.
Completely.
As a consumer as well, if you give him a better alternative, why will the consumer not take it?
Correct. Completely agree. Completely agree.
If there is a lack of availability, if there is no choice, if you're not giving them alternates, he'll keep on doing the same thing which is going on.
Correct. There's no onus for making a change. I mean, see, that's the main reason we want to have this discussion, Chef. So what we decided was, in my mind, was only when the consumers demand, in India, when the consumers demand, then the manufacturers listen. So that is the sad situation that situations I feel like a lot of cases are there.
See, I agree to that, but I have again a point of view where, as a chef, it is one of our prime duties
Correct.
to educate.
Always. Correct.
And not only educate our teams, but society at large as well. That there are. First of all, an example of this. Why do we do so many food festivals in hotels?
Correct.
Most of them are not profitable.
Correct. True.
Some people would say it is good for a marketing thing. Yes, it is okay. Marketing is one angle to it only. But
That's a very
another way,
small-
the most important why the chefs are interested in doing food festivals is because they're doing something different and new.
And exposure is massive.
Exposure is massive. This is the way they will be able to train their staff.
Correct.
And also train a lot of consumers around.
And still make some money on it.
If money is, that's the management part. The management will always be after you, okay, how much money have you made out of this? And the sales and marketing team will say how much eyeballs you've gathered doing this, how much exposure we've got, mileage we've got because of this.
Correct.
But heart of heart, the chef has agreed to do something, or he's doing his own, he's putting in much more effort because he wants to teach his team something different today, and also educate the customers who are going to come and try this food of something different. Because most of the times the customers cannot travel all across the world all the time. Not everybody can.
Correct.
Because of time and money constraints.
Correct.
So bring something different, make it available. So education back of the team and the consumer is one of the prime duties of a chef.
I agree.
and which
Completely.
most chefs traditionally have been doing.
No, I completely agree, Shiva. I completely agree. I think
Of course, if customer demands, the chef will deliver.
yes, has to.
That's the business motive of it, I would say. You know, that's the business part of it.
So this is one concept that I personally drove, which I found that was easy to get people on one page is profitability. So if you talk about profitability, everyone's interested in this. So again, when you talk about profitability, you start talking numbers.
Right.
So when you look at statistics, you look at now almost 40% of your existing market today is going to look for a healthier option within the next 3 months. That is a massive statistic which I pulled out on the internet. I said, means 40%. If I have 100 customers, 40 customers are going to ask me a healthy option. Yeah, because we have to definitely invent something.
Not only healthy, immunity boosting.
Immunity boosting. Oh yeah, there is like, I mean, we've gone through quite a bit. Anyway, pushing on, Chef, what I want to also kind of push first. What do you think, for you, like in your mind, what do you think is, like this concept of pushing health? What do you think? Do you think it's a fad or do you think it's here to stay?
No. I would say the trend of health or the awareness of health came in our country also about 8 to 10 years back.
Okay.
7, 8, 10 years back. Okay, where people started becoming more conscious of lifestyle. So health became not only like a word. I mean, health word has existed for since dictionary was there or before that.
But it's considered to be for rich people.
Yeah. But then the common man has woken up to having a better lifestyle, better healthy food, and doing whatever is required to do for it. Automatically, lot of chefs, lot of hotels, restaurants started giving the healthy food. You know, so it became more of a marketing gimmick at one stage than actual. But today, the customer can see through it, and the industry has also woken up that it cannot just be a marketing word. You know, it need not be just for the namesake. It really need to be the way. If you say something, you better deliver.
Correct. No, I mean,
And
the
the health aspect has not remained just on paper or just as marketing, where you need to get everything imported. It has to be only olive oil,
exactly. So
or it has to be imported
That's right.
multigrain flour.
that is my point. So I was coming to this. So there was this phase when I was, when I was just starting out, where people like healthy option means put more grains in it, go healthy ho gaya, or put less oil, go healthy ho gaya. I mean, our general understanding of healthy food was very restricted. We were all thinking that ये option है तो बस healthy है, fry नहीं किया तो healthy है, और grains डाल दिया तो healthy है, like multi-grain. I mean, so no one actually goes into understanding what grain is what good that grain is to us.
If you are only following the marketing funda of health,
This is the scope of it.
that is what's going to happen to you.
Correct.
But if you really go into it, and people today are aware.
Correct.
Today the customer is also demanding, and people who are not only the consumer but even the industry has become more educated, more aware of how health can be given through simple things.
Correct.
It need not be imported multigrain flour.
Correct.
If you use the simplest of millet flour, जिसको हम बोलते थे गरीब लोगों का खाना, ज्वार, बाजरी, रागी, used to be, there was about a time when most of superfoods rediscovered.
Marketed.
It's all about marketing. It's all about awareness. Marketing is not such a bad word also. It's all about awareness.
There is like
If you are aware,
no, I think I have to credit a lot of our awareness today of food to marketing. So I'm not saying marketing is bad.
True.
I always say that in my mind, I always feel we didn't have a holistic purpose or holistic idea of health. We always felt that health was like, means if it says healthy on the packet means healthy hai, dal do khane mein aur kha lo. So I think that has kind of changed. Now we look into calorific value, and that's the reason why I'm so happy with FSSI. So one of the first things that FSSI did was bring in the calorific value at the back, made it compulsory for us to have nutritional information. This was never done before. I think that was one of the really cool parts that they brought in. Immediately packaging changed. Now you look at the packaging in India, it passes world standards.
Yeah.
So we can, earlier our packaging, there should be one kind of packaging for India and one kind of packaging for the world. And now it's the same. So I think it's people.
Another one thing that FSSAI did a year or so back was fortification of food.
Okay.
Where they did initiative where the essential nutrients, things that which are commonly consumed by everybody. So it is being fortified at source.
Okay.
Like your oils, like your flour. So if you see there is a F kind of a symbol, you know.
Okay.
If you see on the packaged goods, there is a F symbol right at the top somewhere.
Okay.
That means that it has not only passed the bare minimum standards, but it has been fortified with nutrients which are supposed to be essential for human
So
being.
it is basically there's no decay of nutrients in the processing part of it.
Additionally, it has been added as well. So not only that it's going to not reduce, this has been additionally given so that your minimum how to eradicate malnutrition. So you don't have to just give them enough food, but even that little if you're getting nutritional food.
Correct.
And all your essential nutrients are going to you.
Correct.
And through basic things like oil, flour, and these are consumed by everybody.
No, it's a superb, I think, for me, so
Salt,
like
for that matter, it used to be
salt.
only iodized salt.
Iodized salt, correct.
So the whole purpose, that whole idea of give everybody iodized salt so that the iodine deficiency is removed.
Like
The same formula has been taken up that way.
I think one of our biggest blessings about in India is that we get iodized salt. So in the Americas you get brominated salt. And there are so many studies that show you that brominated salt is like really bad for your colon, for your intestine. And iodized salt is really good. I mean, I'm not a cancer specialist or anything, but
I have a different take on that. A little different take on that. That there was a time when only iodized salt, or rather iodized salt, was brought in as a regulation and given to everybody. There was a time for it. Today, is it really required to have only iodized salt? My little bit of research and understanding of food has told me that it is not necessary to have iodized salt only all the time by everybody across the country of all age groups. It is not like a blanket formula of curing something.
Correct.
It's not required today. And what you miss out by not having the natural salts, you're getting an overdose of iodine first,
correct.
but you're missing out on some micronutrients which are there in the actual rock salt and sea salt.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
what is the solution? Is the
Balance
second
out.
word that I had said, moderation.
Moderation.
Have a mix of everything.
Agreed.
And when you buy one packet of iodized salt, take another packet of natural salt. I mean, we in Goa and all the coastal regions are very lucky to have just unrefined sea salt.
See, and
We don't
it's
need
hanging about everywhere.
And
It's
sea salt,
available.
sea salt, if you see, is sold at a few hundred rupees imported
bag. For
a bag.
here we get bag.
And here you'll get like kilos of it.
And there you get like 100 rupees ka small sachet. So
What they will, again, it's all about marketing.
Correct.
We don't market our produce, what we have naturally, the rock salt and the sea salt. I mean, of course, a couple of brands now who are marketing, we're talking about 100 rupees kilo salt
correct.
from the Himalayas and things like that.
Health first. I think there was a phase, right? So there was a phase where I think your grandparents or our grandparents were in this phase where they were just out of a war. So they had to eat whatever they could eat. कि भाई कल मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा पता नहीं. So that created something as a wartime mentality, which is common across people, across countries, of a certain generation. So a certain generation of people will think that I need to feed my child a lot. For them, you literally see like there were so many people I met who were Jewish Holocaust survivors when I was in France, and the amazing story it's such a commonality. Like the same concept was even in Indian people who after partition, like my grandparents, after partition, that same concept. They always felt that hey, this is really like we need to feed our kids because we don't know tomorrow we'll get or not.
True.
If we go from wartime mentality, we go to the next step where there is a little bit of affluence. So in the 70s, you see people are going for ice cream. The ice cream was, maybe it was there before I was not born, but ice cream was like
a big thing.
Big thing. Like ice cream means it's like literally Paris jaake aa jao, like that. It's a big thing. Then you moved on to a phase where you got pops, soda pops. So I think in the late 70s, early 80s, soda pops were like everywhere. And they were all Indian companies. It was not like there were only Coca-Cola. There was all sorts of indigenous companies, Campa Cola, who were doing like crazy amount. I mean, if you go to Pune, you would find this brand called Framrose drinks. which that time used to make all sorts of flavors like
Even in Goa, there is a old company still there, still doing very well.
reals. So basically, so I was very fascinated by that. So we went from wartime mentality to just understanding basic, but this was very unhealthy. This between what we were eating as our product was very unhealthy. But since it was something that was not accessible to everybody, I think our consumption was low, so it was not really killing us.
Yeah.
So I think we were like in that phase where it's harmful, but thoda bahut खा रहे हैं, तो we're not getting any
Moderation.
Exactly. And so it was very
It was like
helpful.
a forced moderation.
Correct.
You could not afford to have.
Correct.
It was not available so much.
It was a blessing.
It was a blessing in disguise. Of
And
course.
the next step from that is you come into the 80s, late 80s, where now you see pop culture emerge. You have pop culture, music is changing, people are dancing with that beatbox and all that, and consuming Coca-Cola and consuming this, and commercialization has kind of stepped in, and you see like a lot of commercial products having crazy amounts of sugar in it, crazy amounts of refined products, and I think processing also kind of got like leapfrog from that point in time. And from that time, you can see the amount of cancer, the amount of obesity, the amount of food-related diseases, hypertension. It's just, it's just going, it's crazy. And back then, we didn't have enough of data to understand that it's killing us. So today we are at a precipice where we have the data, we know it's killing us, and we're still not doing anything about it. So I think that is the reason why another discussion is very important.
It's another initiative of FSSAI. I'm not a government employee, but the good initiatives I would definitely talk about.
No, of course.
So, आज से थोड़ा कम.
Correct.
Where this is about an initiative where they are educating people, bringing in awareness of people who. It's to drive awareness.
Correct.
आज से थोड़ा कम is you reduce your salt, you reduce your sugar, and you reduce your fat intake. They're not saying stop it.
Reduce.
Their life would not be enjoyable without these basic things, So they're saying eat, but eat in moderation. आज से थोड़ा कम. So if you are drinking Pepsi, cut it down. If you are having a lot of sugary drinks and sugary foods or very salted foods, cut it down. Bring it down. And there are various ways that is happening.
And they're all doable ways.
Very easy to do. Very easy to do. Very easy to do. A simple one of the suggestions that came up was we are either a rice eating or a wheat eating country, in majority.
Correct.
Don't add salt to the dough or don't add salt to your rice.
Correct. That's my father's lifetime.
It used to be earlier days.
Yeah,
That is how it was always.
My father will not eat it if there's salt or anything. He will not eat it.
So the bhakris, if you see the bhakri being done, it's always without salt.
Correct.
But the wheat eating community has started putting in more salt, and that is good. So little by little, if you reduce and these basic things, it is very easy to do it.
So there was
And then there are healthier alternatives as well. Nobody's saying that cut it down or shut it down completely. Find alternatives. As you said, you talk about honey and jaggery.
Correct.
Natural substitutes.
Correct.
Reduce the processed foods
Correct.
as much as possible.
So when people ask us, if I'm using honey or if I'm using, jaggery powder, is this going to be low GI? I said no, it's not going to be low GI at all. But what is going to be low is sulfur. So sulfur is one product that is added to sugar to make it whiter and to remove impurities. But sulfur dioxide in your system is a known carcinogen. So sulfur dioxide generally, can cause a lot of detriment in your intestinal, intestines in general, and your body will just keep repairing it again and again. So it kind of your body goes crazy, haywire, and doesn't understand what's happening. So generally, that's what leads to your different kind of intestinal or colon cancers. But the funny part was that it's so easily you can so easily just get rid of this. So it's something I felt like when we look at pastry as like in general, one of the key issues with pastry has been pastry has these 5 major pillars. So the first pillar is eggs, second pillar is flour, then there is fat, then there is sugar, and then there is basically all your chemical additives. So I'll just say these 5 pillars, and there are more, but I'm just kind of condensing it down to the 5 pillars.
Big pillars.
Big pillars. So in this, basically people say butter. So butter is bad for you, has trans fat.
No, sorry.
No, but that's what people say. People say butter is bad for you, has trans fat.
Yeah.
But now the research says that butter helps in elevating LDL.
Yeah.
And it's good fat.
It's good fat.
It's not bad fat. It's something you can easily burn out.
See, again, this word cholesterol, probably our grandparents had never heard of
Heard
it.
of, correct.
Our parents heard of it in the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s.
Correct.
And cholesterol word, again, it's all about awareness.
Correct.
The companies, corporates, marketing people, they started beating a drum saying cholesterol, cholesterol. And today, 20 years later, they said, no, this is good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. New research says there is nothing called good and bad cholesterol. Cholesterol is automatically present and being generated by your body. Forget about what is coming from outside to you.
So there was this.
It's all about awareness. So enough research is being done by paid research is being done and told to you, and you start believing what is the experts, so-called experts are telling you. So it's times change, and automatically these research will also change. If you follow a moderate diet of everything,
Correct.
that sorts out all your problems.
Like there is, I mean, so I used to always wonder that Coca-Cola is bad for you. So that was like the pretext for me. Like Coca-Cola means you can clean your toilet with it and it's bad for you. It's going to kill you or something. But so I went, so I was in, so this is the fortunate part you get and the exposure you get when you travel. So I was in Mauritius. In Mauritius, there are scores of people who, when they get headache, drink Coca-Cola. When they get stomachache, they drink Coca-Cola. When they get fever, they drink Coca-Cola. And it feels for them, they feel that they're getting better with it. So I asked, what is wrong? He said, no, I'm getting better. So I asked, there's definitely no science behind this. Maybe it's a placebo effect or something, but they don't have sugar problems. I mean, and they're Indian, basically Indian genealogy, right? They've come,
Right.
most of the Mauritians are either Indian, Chinese or African, or a mix of all these three. And it was very fascinating for me because like you don't see this happening in India. India, we eating one Coca-Cola, we get problems.
No, but it is linked to sugar. Right? A sugar gives you a high.
Correct.
When that sugar high happens, you feel that you're feeling better. Right?
So
it's not related to the problem per se, but the sugar is giving you another high as it is.
So it's like so basic, so very basic. Anyway, so getting to the next point. So there is some areas which I want your opinion on. Now there are basically, as I mentioned, we have our pillars, right? So in our pillars, there are some pillars which basically are important pillars, some pillars which we can kind of replace.
Yeah.
Now there is also we are at a time where there is a clash of a lot of movements. So there is Eat Right India, there is vegetarianism, there is veganism, there is celiac disease, there is lactose disease. I mean, we never had so many problems. Maybe it was there and we didn't have a word for it.
Yeah, correct.
Or it was not existent. I know it can't
I
get
think
into
the
past.
numbers have definitely gone up of all these intolerances and allergies that are there.
Okay.
Probably because of the food, the condition that we live in, there are definitely more allergies. For sure, there is research, and of course, because of research, we have a name for it as well.
Correct.
So it's a mix of everything. Earlier, at one time, we used to say that the person just died.
Correct.
Yeah, people just died. We didn't know for what reason they died. Right? Today, there is more research, more awareness of and doctors and facilities to tell you what exactly is the cause of death. So. That is evolvement, that is the evolution that has happened because of a lot of research and a lot of facilities being available.
Correct. True.
So same way with somebody is sick, but what exactly is wrong, they'll be able to diagnose you. Tell you what exactly is wrong. And I'm sure with the amount of corporate research that is being done and medicine research that is being done, they'll find more new diseases. True. Like they found this new virus, there will be many more things lying in the future. It will keep happening.
There are a lot of doctors who
Evolution.
This is the preparatory pandemic. So this is how to prepare yourself for a pandemic. That's what people feel.
Yeah, it's like a training time.
I'm not the master in that, but what I can definitely talk about is pastry. So I want to keep again getting back to what was the bigger problem for us. So earlier when I started doing rounds in expos or exhibitions in India, I would come across very unscrupulous practices, and they were not unscrupulous because they were not legal or illegal, but they were basically playing into someone's ignorance or someone's lack of information. So one of the things was that plant oils are low cholesterol. So I said, इसमें cholesterol कैसे हो सकता है? Because there is no cholesterol. Cholesterol comes from animal source. Plants don't make cholesterol. Animals do. Mammals do. So I'm like, इसमें cholesterol कैसे होगा? So it's like the first time I heard someone give this pitch, they said this is a cholesterol-free product, and I corrected him. I said, yeah, it has to be cholesterol.
It has to be. What's special?
Yeah, if it's got cholesterol, that means you added some animal source.
Something else is coming.
So then he went on the back foot because he was not.
He himself didn't know the background.
And he was probably from a background that he sat in a training room and then ये बोलना है boss, बोल दो. So I think that's what he did, and he went and he vomited in front of everybody, and I was a little taken aback because I know that what is inside that is basically something known as a phytosol. So there's basically not you don't have cholesterol inside, you have phytosols. So it is or planterol, what people call. So basically that was what fascinated me. I said people are like, I think right now people have more access to information.
Definitely.
They know it's going to be easy to pick out all these problems. But again, coming back to the age-old issue of cost. Cost when people chefs say that I want to use margarine because it's expensive to use butter. I want to use margarine because it's easy for me to handle without AC. Cost is again coming down. Do you think that is the right approach?
It's the time when we have to find an alternate to margarine. It's the time because there is regulation that has come. The government of India has committed to WHO to ban trans fat by 2022.
Okay.
WHO is changing the regulation. They have made a decision of 2023, and our country has decided to do it 1 year before the rest of the world, as 2022. So margarine solution has to be found right now, which is banned trans fat. The movement of banned trans fat or reduced trans fat, that is anyway ongoing. So it's not there is no choice. You have to do it. You have to comply to regulation, right?
I feel that we are not giving enough, we are not giving enough of support to our traditional fats.
Exactly. See, there are many people who have experimented with a lot of in pastry as well by using coconut oil.
Correct. Correct.
Same. What happens to coconut oil naturally is it hardens up.
Correct.
And why do we use margarine? Because it hardens up.
Correct.
So there is an alternate naturally available with its and coconut oil is very healthy as it is.
Correct.
Though
Which is now.
So
there was
10 years back people started talking about ban coconut oil is one of the worst things for cardiovascular problems, all that.
While you're doing the research for this particular discussion, there was a 2015 article which says that coconut oil is bad for you. Then the same article has a correction put in 2016 saying it's bad for you if you're North American. So that is so again there is so much of so trans fat is a basic issue. So that is clear. So trans fat is what causes cardiovascular problems. You get heart attack because of that. It clogs up your arteries and it's a massive issue. Wait for you to get out of your system.
Yeah.
Some products which use trans fat are again vegan friendly. There are also some products like our whipping cream. So whipping cream is a perennial problem. So like if you go to the bigger hotels, they can afford to use whipped cream. There are some bakeries that I have worked with in the past where they're using fresh cream. Like that is the buffalo cream. So they're whipping that in order to use on top of the icing and all that. But those products don't last. They last for probably around 3 to 4 hours
only.
So I don't think we have sufficient research in our natural source fat to reach out to the mass market. I think the mass market needs a product that can be worked with on a cost level.
Yeah.
I don't think that is happening.
Right now it's not, but then there is sense of more awareness as well of the dairy cream and the non-dairy cream.
Correct.
Basically that's the difference.
Correct.
One is, should I eat something which is going to be healthy for me?
Correct.
Or should I consume something which is not going to affect me at all?
Correct.
Or something which is detrimental to my health? So there can be 3 classes of products.
Correct.
It cannot be most things are not going to harm me. That's not a big category. Either it will add health to me or it may harm me in some way or the other.
Correct. True.
So there are only 2 categories basically. So
There can't be like a grey area.
There is no grey area in food.
Unless I eat little of it.
it will definitely give you something good only, or it will harm you, even if it is in little quantity.
So that is the funny part that we like. So trans fat again is found in compound chocolates.
Yeah.
Now the biggest problem with compound chocolate, chef, is that without compound chocolates, we don't have any other product that can last in our logistic system. So if you notice, I mean, there are obviously more than just the trans fat part of it. There are emulsifiers and all that, which again are to a certain extent not good for us. But if you look at the trans fat angle, then compound chocolate is another major problem. Because in compound chocolate, what happens is you have this big issue where without the trans fat, without the hydrogenated fat in there, the product is just going to melt.
But
So,
that is the natural condition of chocolate, right? At a
Correct.
certain temperature, chocolate is supposed to melt.
Correct.
We going back to the natural form of chocolate, the way it's supposed to be had and supposed to work.
Was
Was
not even in
compound
this
there
bar.
50 years, 100 years back?
So funnily, it was not even this bar was introduced in Netherlands to basically and Switzerland and to basically commercially market the product. Actually, this product was enjoyed like as a hot beverage.
So
That is the
sometimes some of these inventions are done for a particular time and class or
Yeah.
requirement.
for World War One.
Yeah, so it was meant for a particular phase. It was
Correct.
not meant to be used 100 years after World War One, almost 80 years after World War One. You know, so everything has its time and space, and it should be restricted to that time and space.
Correct. I think
So the question is, first of all, I would start asking people, you know, are you even aware of what we are talking about?
Correct.
That between compound and chocolate,
So that is a
there is a big difference.
major.
Is compound chocolate?
No. It's actually, in fact, when you the reason
It's a chocolate flavor,
yeah,
right?
It's not even chocolate.
It's not even chocolate, but how many awareness?
No one knows.
Most people don't know. We
No.
take that slab, we take that product,
As
and
long as
it is
it looks-
chocolate.
so
it
it-
looks like chocolate, it tastes like chocolate, it
It's
smells like chocolate.
It's chocolate.
It does not even feel, you know, there is a different mouthfeel to it.
So thereby it is chocolate.
So the awareness has to be there.
I think
It is coming slowly.
definitely. I think now what I like this discussion that we're having here. Basically, we'll be putting it up on YouTube as well. So I want to kind of get this discussion out there. Make sure that people see this discussion, hear this discussion out. If you need any more information, you can get in touch with us as well. Moving on, I want to also talk about one little fact that I've come across very recently now. Is this what I refer to as the pseudo diet concept? The pseudo diet means it's very healthy, but it's not really healthy. So everything with low fat doesn't mean healthy for you.
No,
that is
you need fat, right? You need fat for your basic metabolism.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of people come to us and say, I would really like to eat your cake, but I'm on a diet. So I say, what if I make the cake without any sugar and without any butter? If I make it with oil, would that be okay for you? And people say, no, I cannot eat any fat. So I feel that the fad and the pseudo dieting concept that needs to be addressed along with the changes that we need to bring about. I think that is a major problem as well. So a lot of concept in our line we talk about table marching.
Yeah.
So low fat butter. I mean, how can you have low fat butter? I mean, it's like literally we must be really naive to think that it's like saying that petrol given up petrol gadi chal rahi hai, like that. The petrol less petrol car.
But it cannot be. See, you can reduce certain things from certain in percentages. You can do some amount of blending and playing around with it, but it cannot be zero and still with the same name.
And I'm happy that FSSAI is now putting up legislation. Now there's legislation coming about by FSSAI which is saying that if you claim to be multigrain, how much percentage of that product needs to be multigrain?
Yeah.
That is the next big step that is going to happen with FSSAI, which is really for me is now I'm getting confident in my country. Because I'm getting confident because I am educated, I am a chef, I'm going to always question. But the person who, say for example, those migrants that you saw on your TV screen that were walking, if someone gave them a packet of anything, they would eat it. Not question, think, nothing. In fact, they don't even feel sometimes insecurity to feed their children that. Today, I feel that as a chef, I feel that whatever comes out of a packet, I should avoid. As much as I can get directly from source, directly without processing, I should employ that in my kitchen. Obviously, it's not really possible, but
as much as possible.
Exactly.
As less of processing, as less as time lag between production or growing and consumption, as less that you can reduce from source of production area or growing area to your table, as much the distance can be and the time can be reduced, is better.
Perfect.
What we say, fresh food, natural food, zero carbon footprint food, close by food, local food, unprocessed food, non-white food. Again, processing is connected to a lot of white, so as much as we can go back.
You say white, then you immediately think George Floyd.
No,
white means more
non-white,
non-bleach,
non-bleach, because to make it more white and attractive, it was all bleached, right?
One of
More refining and bleaching was happening, which is not so
that is a major problem, Chef. I really agree with you. One of the other things that I noticed, Chef, is I don't know if you face it in cookery, but in the bakery we get a lot of this problem is the mother will come with the child and tell me, can you make a pink color or a blue color or a yellow color cake? That was for me very taxing earlier because we used to use whatever color we used to get. Now we are using really expensive food grade colors, and we're really putting in effort to ensure that the color is the products are really very very safe, I would say. And by and large, pastry is the only department that is permitted to use colors today.
Yeah.
We don't have any colors in any other department.
No, in hot kitchen, totally it's
Banned.
been banned. No color. Okay. So it has to be either natural food ingredient.
Correct.
So it can be, if you want green, you put spinach or any green leaf.
But
you
there
want,
are so many instances where I can show you where hotels, if you go and you take the paneer out of the palak paneer, it will be green color.
So there are people who will be, of course, flouting the law. But as per law, you cannot use any color
In cooking.
in cooking. No, in hot cooking as in general cuisine.
Correct.
Yes, color is permitted in bakery pastry, which is also permitted food colors,
Correct.
and in halwai and in farsan.
Yes.
So these are basically the two sections of food production that is still allowed to use some amount of food color, food grade color, not any color.
No, I completely agree. So when parents come, I tell them I'll make a light colored cake. So a lot of people come, no, I want it to be dark color. So then what happens? I'm very as a chef, I'm very conflicted because for me it's very it's against what I would feed anyone. And then
As an ethic,
ethically,
you're being pressurized to do something which you do not agree to normally.
Not at all. I would not want to feed that to my children or to people that I know. I would not feed. So how can I feed it to your kid?
Yeah.
And as a mother, I can't. After a certain level, I can't even argue with you.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like, अरे अभी कितना बहस करूँगा मैं? Because it's like the mother itself says, I want to feed this, and so then I used to get very nerve-wracked earlier. I used to be like, how are they like that? So then I started understanding that you need to educate them.
Yeah, it's all about education that, see, ultimately it's all chemical based, right?
Correct.
It's all dyes. There are not
Correct.
many, there are hardly any companies who are making food extracts or color extracted from food. Hardly anybody is doing it. If not, then what you're putting in is all chemical. And
Correct.
ultimately you are what you eat.
Correct.
So if you're eating chemical, you will become, you know what?
Chemical. Become. Coming to chemical, again we have additives. So food additives again is the major issue. So,
Big problem. Big
so now,
problem.
back in the day when we were cooking, we had meeta soda. I think meeta soda was accepted कि हर चीज में जल्दी पकाना तो meeta soda डालो. So I think that baking soda or meeta soda was basically generally accepted, and salt would counteract it. So it would give you that blast of carbon dioxide initially and then just die down. No, but in bakery we have other problems. So we have other problems like, for example, if you have naturally sourced ammonium bicarbonate, like a natural source ammonium bicarbonate, not lab sourced, then it degrades faster than baking soda, than sodium bicarbonate. So that is now fascinating for me as a pastry chef because I always feel that ammonium is more dangerous. But now there is research that says that no, if it is natural source, it will degrade faster in your system rather than sodium bicarbonate. Coming back to what other chemicals we use apart from that, we are using a whole array of products now. We are using softeners. We are using things like, for example, texturizers. We don't need to use that. At least not in fresh pastry. I think that doesn't have any place in fresh pastry.
See, it's if we can do without something, it shouldn't be there.
Correct.
If it was done previously without it,
Correct. Avoid it.
avoid it. It's simple. Why? I mean, when you buy packaged goods today in the market, if you start reading the label of ingredients, there are some ingredients which have only code numbers.
Because if they write the full thing, आप खरीदोगे नहीं उसको.
ऐसे भी नहीं समझ में आ रहा है ना. If you put a code over there, the chemical name is also being hidden.
Hidden.
So, if you don't recognize it as food, then why are you eating it? So you're eating something which is not food.
Correct.
In simple language, you're eating something which is not food. You're consuming it,
There was a.
and you are what you eat.
I agree, chef. There
If
is
you
a.
eat chemical, somewhere or the other you're going to harm yourself only.
Yes,
It's
100%.
chemical.
There was a big debate, chef, about 6-7 years back when they started banning bromates. So they banned bromates. There was a, as in everything happens, when there's a ban, there will be a rebellion, and then there will be generally people will start accepting the ban and things like that. But no one asked why they banned bromates. Only the big chefs I think asked, okay, why are you banning this bromate? What does it do? And a lot of the line level bakers who do your regular bakery, your regular, your pav or your small breads or your sandwich bread and all, they never inquired why it is banned. Banned ठीक है और क्या है? Next क्या है?
Life has to go on. For that.
So for me, bromates, sorbates, all of them are bad for you. So if you're feeding your child on a regular basis sandwich bread, which is not freshly made and has a shelf life of more than 1 week, it has got enough of carbon, it has got enough of chemicals in there to kill your child. You're just giving them chota poison. But it is harmful.
Which is the biggest, most freshly, nice, attractive, chemical-laced food available in the market? Apples.
Yes.
If you have
Yes.
something supposedly perishable,
Highly better.
no, it's a fruit, right? So it has to be perishable, which does not perish for months together,
Which they can store in our heat.
which can sit on the room temperature. Forget chiller.
Chiller.
Sits in room temperature, doesn't get spoiled for months. Then you imagine what is the condition of what. Is it really food, first of all?
Fruits is a major issue.
So-
Fruits may in fact.
If it is not required to be inside that, if you can get freshly plucked, harvested, grown in your own garden, in your own farm, somewhere where you can, where you know what's the source, where is it coming from,
I think
and what all is gone into it.
what people don't realize, like a lot of people don't realize, is that to kind of veer away from the commercially produced products, there incurs quite a substantial cost difference.
Yes.
And people are not willing to pay that. And people are not educated enough to understand why to pay. That's the reason we're doing this session.
True.
Is to educate people now to understand that if I'm drinking, if I'm drinking good quality water versus bad quality water, it's because someone has put a filter in between. Or someone has filtered the water in between. Now that cost, someone has borne, so you're getting the water. Government has borne or someone has borne. If you're doing it at home, then you have borne the cost. But your child is not going to ask you why the water is clean or why the water is not. Someone has to bear the cost. Now, in most cases, that someone is us.
Consumer, ultimately. Us.
We bear the
Either
cost, we
businessman or a consumer. And then you pass it
pass
on.
it on to the consumer. So when we bear the cost, we pass it on to the consumer. But the consumer today, although there is so much awareness, still the bulk of the consumer will still argue with the chef that it's महंगा क्यों है? Why is it so expensive?
I think it's the question of organic versus inorganic food, right? If it is seasonal and fresh and locally cultivated versus commercially stored food, which is mass produced and kept in a cold room and given to you after 10 months, 6 months also. If you can take a calculated decision, I mean, there is amount of money and economy, of course, of your pocket. But if you can take a healthier choice, if you know this is more organic or not necessarily certified, okay? Not you're paying for certification also. Because certification also will give you more, will make it more expensive.
Cost, yeah.
But if you can get it from the source and from somebody whom you know has grown it in a more traditional, more less chemical environment, produced in a less chemical additive environment, why not? And if you have to pay 2 paisa today versus 2 rupees to the doctor later on,
Exactly.
and 10 rupees to the hospital if you have to go to the
That
hospital.
is the argument which I never win. So I never win that argument because every time I'm arguing with the customer saying that it is healthy because I'm using natural ingredients, the customer hits back and says that I never asked you to. And sometimes then I didn't get, so then I understand the chef's perspective also. The chef says, अरे भाई customer को ही नहीं चाहिए तो फिर मैं क्यों करूँ? So this is what prompted me, this psychology is what prompted me to hold this discussion. And I said, I think we should definitely talk about this, I think, more often. And one of the other things that I think people are starting, I mean, it's evident in the way you get products in the market now. So in the market, you get products which are healthy and non-healthy. For me, that shouldn't happen. There should not be any non-healthy product in the market.
Agreed.
So with that, then you're putting a lot of pressure on the parent or the child who again will fall for packaging and other gimmicks. But you're putting a lot of pressure on that consumer and a misinformed or an uninformed consumer. That is, I think, too much pressure.
It will come. The time will also come where regulation will not allow any kind of unhealthy food in the shelf itself.
Correct.
It will come. We are a developing nation. Hopefully, we will develop that much that regulation will cut out this other option only.
I mean, if you go to Europe, I'm not saying that in America that much, but if you go to Europe, you will literally see that happen. Like in parts of Europe, you will not get grain sugar. You will not find grain sugar anywhere. So I used to ask, I said, why don't you get grain sugar here? He said, when you get castor sugar, why do you need grain sugar? So what is the use of grain sugar? So when you get castor sugar, which is free flowing and everything, why do you need that grain of sugar anyway? You don't need it. So we don't have it here. So I should be fascinated. I was like, grain sugar we should get from India. Because we should sprinkle it on top of biscuits around to crunch के लिए. And I should get grain sugar from India, smuggle करके. ये grain sugar हम लोग use करेंगे and sulfurless grain sugar we should get from India, which should be fascinating for me because I have never heard of these things and it all happened there when we were doing these things. And I think one of the other issues that I came across was substitutes. Now, yes, substitutes का बहुत बड़ा issue है, and this is one reason which I feel that people should inform themselves about it. Like maybe simple Google search also people do, they'll find out what is a substitute for everything. So one of the substitutes that we have more important than anything in our pillars is egg. Egg is the one product that is very frequently substituted because in India we are vegetarian.
It's again customer demand.
Customer demand.
It happens because of that.
So vegetarianism, I'm not saying bad, good, but definitely, then I have this few conundrums which come about. One is that the moment you replace egg, you take away all the base protein that can form the structure in that product. And you're replacing it with the milk protein, which is the weaker structure. So it's like you take cement in a concrete and put more sand and less cement and expect the structure to stand strong, which is not going to happen. At some point it's going to crumble. And this, I think, people should understand themselves also. They should be able to understand that, if I'm taking egg replacer, the product is going to have less of a rise, it's going to be more dense.
Yeah.
And they need to understand that, so then it becomes easy for them to distinguish a product. Okay, today if you go to any bakery and they say, no, इसमें तो अंडा नहीं है, and you say, for example, you're not a vegetarian, but you have an allergy, and it triggers an allergy, automatically you know there's egg in it.
Somebody is.
You don't need that, you're not waiting for some lab report to come.
Yeah.
Automatically
It happens at my home. My wife is allergic to egg, and we've had people. We've had times, when we were like assured that this is totally eggless, sir, don't worry. And after half an hour of consumption, we've had a problem.
This is great. This is the reason why I get so nervous when people come to us with allergies. So again, the thing is that no chef can give you a product that can combat allergies because we work on a surface that does multiple products. So the anti-allergen aspect of that is there. So when we give a product out, we always say that there are two allergies that will mostly related to bakery. One is nuts, one is lactose, one is if you have gluten allergy, and one is if you are allergic to any kind of in general eggs or any kind of high protein content, or like meat or whatever. If you are allergic to something with high protein, generally you will get these allergies. So these four allergies are what usually hit us. Obviously there will be other allergies as well, but I have noticed that we have a basic idea of this, and many chefs might not have it. I don't know if that is the case, but it's very, very intriguing because allergy is again something that is not is not talked about a lot. We discuss it in homes, but when we go out, we don't ask. Very few people
will say that I have an allergy to this and can I get a product which is devoid of these things. We don't specifically demand it when we go out. We don't even ask it. We might, okay, in a 5-star hotel or in a very big restaurant, we might still ask because we might, we perceive that the person who's asking us the order is knowledgeable about this.
Yeah.
But we don't ask it in a small bakery. We do not ask it in a big bakery, or we do not ask it in any small level, line level shop. We don't ask it. We do not ask. I think we should.
The awareness has to come from both sides. One is why was the customer not asking? Because he perceived that the organization, the small outlet, does not know about it.
Correct.
So one has to be education of the training institute, the person running it, making it as well. So if education is there, awareness is there, automatically the care for it is also taken.
Correct. No doubt. But I think
so. Customer also gets a better, safer food that way.
And by demanding for it.
By demanding for it.
Yeah, now the biggest conundrum in pastry that we face today is refined flour. So refined flour is the one topic that everybody is talking about. Can we replace refined flour? Can we replace refined flour? So for me, I think maida is not a problem if it is not bleached. Is my view is that I can't replace maida because maida again has this amount of gluten forming capacity that I haven't seen in any other flour. To a certain extent, you can see it in dry flour and all that, but again, it comes with a contributing taste and contributing factor and all that. And you don't want your cookies, your chocolate cookie to take sour. You don't want it. You want it to take chocolatey. So for that, flour is like this hero that does not contribute too much of flavor. It's a hero flour for me, like the number one. But if you bleach it, you kill all the nutrition in that. So I think what we need to really talk about is unbleached flour. Is just my unrefined rice.
First of all, the whole negative connotation of flour or maida is also not the right negative aspect that one has taken to.
Correct.
Again, there is not enough awareness about it.
Correct.
That saying that no, maida is bad for health.
Correct.
What exactly is wrong with it?
No.
That question nobody has asked. Most consumers have not asked that question. And blindly, the chefs also saying, okay, we'll make it without maida.
So
that is not the solution. The first step is if you do moderate consumption.
Correct. Nothing is
problem solved.
Yes.
First thing,
Correct.
right? As a consumer and as a producer. Second thing is there are alternates.
Correct.
As you said, one solution itself is that if you don't bleach,
So that means big solution.
That's a big solution, right?
And it is mass. It's something that can be easily applied to the masses, provided the masses don't say that मेरा bread white क्यों नहीं है भैया? Why is my bread not white? If I open the bread, why is it brown? अंदर जल तो नहीं गया ये अंदर से bake हुआ है. So that when the customer becomes knowledgeable enough and doesn't remain so backward that they are asking you such banal questions, the chef doesn't have time to answer that, innovate, go back to his house and feed his family and have a good time with his folks at home, be a family person and do all this. It is just not possible. I mean, we need some support from the public where the public comes and says, okay, what is wrong with this product? And if you say that, ma'am, this flour is not bleached, you should understand that bleached nahi hai to white nahi hai. So simple. I think I'm sure that FSSAI, if they're fighting against trans fat, at some point they will definitely fight for bleaching also.
Bleaching of any kind of food, for that matter.
Yes, they will fight for it. I'm 100% sure because
it's the next step. I think it's coming.
I'm very happy about that because then that will put a lot of onus on mass in general. Like people will then be educated enough to understand, and that's all. As a chef, I would prefer the customer to do is to basically understand कि भाई इसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है कि इसमें ये क्यों ऐसा है क्यों ऐसा है. That is very important for you to understand as chefs. That the customer knows what he's talking about. That's I think a big. Anyway, chef, going to the next topic, I want to ask you about what is your understanding of the of the benefits that this kind of talk and this kind of research gives you. What do you think is how would it benefit the consumers? Because this is mostly consumer-driven discussion.
One is that we are trying to do awareness and a bit of education. If out of this 1.5 hour, 2 hour that we're going to be here, if you take out one or two things, key learnings from this, I think that's free. Yeah? You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to go to college or school for this, right? And this is all information, verified information that is coming. It's like free knowledge that is coming your way of years of experience and reading up.
Correct.
From I would not say certified sources, but experienced people. You know, from years of interacting with various people in the industry across various spectrums. There is like
No, and this is what we are having discussion here is a very practical approach, because see, for us to do a discussion, chef, when we are doing it in the hotel, well, we are doing it anyway as part of all our organizations. This is the number one topic of discussion in all the seminars and webinars and everything. This is a discussion how to make the food healthier, because we as a professional are geared towards this. What we do, this kind of a setup, this kind of a town hall, if you may, this kind of a discussion, a public discussion, is basically to get the consumer involved. This is not to reach out to chefs only, but to reach out more to the customer, because customer should become smart.
if you as a customer of any kind of food,
Correct.
not necessarily bakery, pastry, but you are consuming food at home, outside, in your offices, in your canteens, in anywhere, you have to be going there with a little bit of awareness. If you've done that little bit today more,
Correct.
better off.
Better off. Seriously. There are so many fields that we are in. So we've got this discussion kind of spans across to so many, apart from chefs, we have so many food professionals involved. Like we have microbiologists, we have people who do with food technology, we have processors, food packaging processors. Through my research, I found out that chefs are not the only people.
No,
Like,
we are
there are
doing
so
our
many-
small bit in the whole big
The whole
scheme of
gamut.
food
Correct.
scheme, food in the food map.
So for us to singly take the blame, also I think is not correct.
No, that is again marketing. No,
Marketing.
the chefs became the face of the food because of television.
That is what again is a big problem for me, because I find that everything stigmatizes on ये chef ने नहीं किया बराबर से कि ये chef has not done a good job of this, or chef. Even the management will go to the chef, even the consumer will go on the chef. I think again I say there's too much of responsibility on one shoulder.
It's good, but then not when it comes down heavily.
Yeah, very true. And I think managements also should understand that they need to educate their chefs. I think managements don't care beyond a certain point about the quality of the training. They just sign over here.
They expect the
done.
chef to learn on their own, which
That
is
is-
not going to happen.
It's-
There's too much to do.
I have
There's
not.
some time and energy left after you've done your job to go
After,
and learn.
let me add to that, chef. After doing your 14 plus hours shift.
Of course, that's normal.
So 14 hours. I don't know how many of you guys work for more than 12 hours, but a chef generally, an executive chef will work for 12 to 15 hours. बस उसकी कोई life नहीं है. So I am just shocked that we don't have more than 90% of divorce rate. ये बहुत एक shocking.
It's a very high rate. I don't know the statistics though.
But
There is no research.
But not 90%.
Not 90%.
That is a big thing, because I don't know which wife will put up with a husband who's in the job. कि भाई पुलिस वाली नौकरी होगी, ये फौजी वाली नौकरी है कि आप बॉर्डर पे जाओ और मतलब वहीं पे रहो. It's like that. Our job really becomes like that for us. I think in this situation, to expect a chef to self-educate is asking too much. I think managements and big hotels and all, even in small hotels, big hotels, irrespective of the organization size, I think all of them should understand. You need to educate their chefs. Any chef, this is, really good discussion. I think very very open-hearted discussion we had. Last, I want to ask you just one parting point that you would say.
Yeah.
That any kind of a additive that from your side you want to add, please, floor is yours.
I would not say to food additive. You say?
No, anything.
No,
Whatever you would like to add.
Just one
from your
thing,
side.
apart from the bakery and the pastry discussion that we had, one point we didn't touch about when we picked up health and nutrition and is superfoods.
Yes.
You know, which is like a big marketing again of food.
Which is actually for pastry is again little bit. So for us, we don't have that many superfoods in pastry. We have few.
You have few, yet not marketed. You know,
Correct.
that's why there is less.
Correct.
But if you first of all have everything native, local, seasonal,
Correct.
and then it is healthy, right?
Correct.
But then some of the foods get tagged as Superfood. And what is a superfood? First of all, we were always hearing about quinoa, we were always hearing about multigrain,
Correct.
7-seed.
Correct.
Anything coming from olive oil, anything coming from abroad was always told to us that it's a superfood, it's a great thing.
Superfood.
Yeah. So it was then in every menu, in every function, and everybody wanted to have it.
Quinoa especially.
Quinoa, I mean,
Quinoa for me was like, I never understood quinoa. It tastes like millet and
it tastes like anything else, right? I mean, but then it's somebody tells you that they had it for thousands of years, so it's a superfood. They lived for hundreds of years because of eating this particular thing.
So
Did we not have enough in India as well?
We lived there.
We didn't live there in that climatic condition.
we lived here.
We live here and we have enough ingredients in our country which can be, again, with enough research being done. And thankfully, some of the organizations and some of these bodies have done some amount of research to term, but again, there is not enough evidence, not enough awareness of these ingredients which are like superfoods. What is a superfood? Anything can be categorized as a superfood. The second part is that it has to be marketed as a superfood.
Correct.
So
Correct.
if it is commercially making sense, they will be marketed as a superfood.
Correct.
If not,
Correct.
then it is like it's like a
Healthy food.
healthy food,
Mm.
or it will be
That's
like
it.
अरे दादी ने भी तो दिया था, मेरी नानी ने भी तो दिया था, मेरी मम्मी ने भी तो दिया था. Because it was meant to be good for you, that is why it was given to you.
Correct.
So they gave you everything which was seasonal,
Correct.
or just at the start of a season. So everything has its own benefits in
This is
food.
very very cool, chef. So we have a discussion next Saturday, which is with very noted dietitian, Miss Zainab Ghulam Hussain. So with Zainab, what happens is we're discussing this concept about have we lost out stories. The reason that when your grandmom gave you something, she would say, "बेटा ऐसे खाओ, इससे ये होता है, या तो ये होता है, या तो ये खाओगे तो आपको ये मिलेगा." She would give you some kind of like carrot, dangle a carrot on you to eat that product. I think we are missing those stories right now. I think our current generation is just too knowledgeable about everything. कि भाई ये खाएंगे तो चुटचुट गूगल निकाला देखा कि no, this is false. So I think that whole fantasy around the food is kind of lost. So I think where superfood is concerned, it is bringing back that fantasy
Yeah.
in a language that these kids can understand.
Chia seeds, another superfood. I don't understand sometimes these things which come from abroad. Rather, we do our native. If we look at our own, some of the superfoods from India, I mean, ghee, which is now officially also categorized as a superfood. Kokum, very, very native to Goa and this Konkan belt. Kokum, excellent. I mean, I can give you a list of what is the benefit of every thing, but I'm sure most of our customers, people listening,
Please tell us.
you will do your own research. I mean, most of it you know anyways, and the guys there, most of them will do Google immediately. But I'll just name some of them. Cashew nuts
Correct.
had such a bad reputation in between that it will
Cholesterol.
add to cholesterol. It is good cholesterol that it will give you.
Correct.
Coconut
Correct.
has gone through the whole cycle of becoming bad